Good evening, everybody, and happy Friday. It is I, Ultra here, aka the Jim Jones of, hold on, try to show up my shirt here, of Classic Gaming. Hope everyone had a great Christmas and looking forward to a happy new year. I got a brand new external webcam to kind of alleviate some of the craziness that was going on with my past webcam that was attached to my laptop. And I should be coming in through on my microphone. So if it's my audio sounds weird at all, or if y'all can't hear me, just please let me know so I can try to fix it. I don't want to have audio issues. With this being the last live stream video that I'm probably going to do for this year, I really neglected my Rumble channel these last couple months with how much the holidays were kicking my ass at work. Like, let me think. I got here, got up this morning because I'm trying to think because I went out of town right after work on Tuesday on Christmas Eve because I had to work like a half day and I had to go in at 4 in the morning instead of the usual 5, but we got off at like noon. Drove straight out of town after that to go meet family. And then I came back yesterday afternoon. And then it was just going all over all over the place, all the different parties and all that jazz. So that's how it goes usually. Hold on, I'm going to clip this on here so that way that cable doesn't get to go all over the place. And so I did get some, however, some good. Hold on, I'm trying to. Got a bunch of books here on my desk right now. Got some good stuff for Christmas this year from that I bought for myself and that I got from my family as well. So a couple of the books I got, there's an artist named, let me see if I get this right. Yeah, Andrew Kolb is his name. And he created these setting books based around very popular like fairy tales and stuff. So the first one he ever did was this one called Oz. So you can go in, so you can play in the city of Oz, and I think it's a hex crawl, if I recall. This is not one I've read through yet. This is fairly new to me. This one was the first time I ever heard about this artist. Was it's Neverland, and you're exploring the island, and it's kind of taking place sometime after the original kids from the story are there. Like has become a witch. The nerdy one with glasses is now a lich, and the youngest one is now an old man like blacksmith kind of deal. This is the one that I'm more familiar with, and then this one actually just got released, and this one is a Wonderland, and this one is more of like a dungeon crawl through all the various levels of Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, it is actually really written. I found the PDF online, doing my usual mainly. Oh, I got my first guest. I will go ahead and bring him on. See if he will join in. You have to mute yourself, I think, Ryan.
Hey, Ultra, what's going on?
Not much. Just doing my last little live stream. I actually, so I don't know if I ever told you, but I used to, an old podcast I used to do years back when I first got into ttrpg hobby. Uh, I found an old, a different platform that had some old episodes on because, it was about that time was I also had a lot of falling out with people, and some of the people I used to interact with on some of my episodes I ended up removing. But one of those platforms didn't remove them all, so I remember re-listening to those episodes, and it just got me thinking about everything that had gone up through these past couple of years, kind of like my little journey through this hobby. So
Spectacular.
just taking a look back and thinking about that all stuff because it's like I went into this hobby basically just kind of like just looking for something to do when the pandemic started. And I got started with, and I've told you this before, and I think everyone else here knows, I started with a game called City of Mist, which is kind of it's an offshoot of Powered by the Apocalypse because it doesn't work exactly like it is, but the mechanics are very similar with the 2d6 and all that. But I didn't really want to do D&D because my thought was everyone's doing D&D, so what's something else that might catch my interest? And so this was the one that caught my eye, was City of Mist, and it still holds a place in my heart still to this day. Like my dad got me, they released a new book, and my dad ordered for Christmas, but there was a snafu, and they didn't ship it out in time for me to receive it. So I'm still friends. So there was a schism there for a while with me and the creator of the game because, again, this was the time because the thing that's really kickstarted this whole thing of how I got to be where I am today was when Roe v. Wade happened, when that got overturned back to the States.
Right.
So a lot of the Discord servers I was in it's like they were all over the place, and here I am thinking I just want to play games. I don't want this stuff to be kind of anywhere, even for me. And I got basically shunned for that in a lot of places. I had people actually slander me. You can actually find those tweets out there on X. Like people try to actively slander me just because it's like I didn't agree with them on everything. But I've always made that abundantly clear that I do not agree 100% with everyone, but I do not have to agree with you to be able to run or play a game with you all the time. It just depends on how severe you want to take it.
Right. It's so weird how tribal
Yeah.
things can get sometimes. I mean, hell, you and I don't agree all the time, but it doesn't mean that we can't still put some stuff aside and pop. Like, I saw your stream tonight. I wanted to pop in for a few minutes and say what's up and see what's going on. And I know that there's going to be something that I say that pisses you off someday, and that's perfectly fine. That's the glory of it. So, yeah, the internet, it is a weird place. But if you take this shit too seriously, that's when you end up, well, like the people that I make fun of, and we don't want to do that. So, I hear you, brother, man. You were talking about City of Mist. I have a game that's like that. It's chill. I think that everybody knows, the system. It is a pretty solid system, but it's a game that doesn't get enough love, but it holds a special place in my heart. So I feel the same way that you do about that system as you do with City of Mist. So I hear you 100%, brother.
Yeah, and I was actually because I was on Dungeon and Diversity of Dragons. I don't know why I got the D's confused there for a second. I was on Diversity of Dragons stream last night for a little bit, and we watched Condor DM video last night, and I was like, oh my god, right? It's like Ryan talks about it enough, and I did I'm an immature 9-year-old little boy.
Oh
trying to
my
do,
goodness.
and it's
Vulture
funny
is an
because
interesting guy. He's left our hobby so many times I can't count, and it's just weird, man. You can't grow on the backs of everybody else,
yeah,
and that's really what he tries to do. The last thing I saw was he was poking at a pundit, trying to get our buddy the RPG pundit to react to him. And I hate to tell him, but he's not a pimple on the ass of the RPG pundit. So,
yeah.
oh boy.
The funny thing
What's my buddy Vulture up to now? I haven't checked in on him for a while. Last time, every time I go to his YouTube channel, it's like whiskey and depression.
Well, the video that I don't know how new the video was that he pulled up last night, but Vulture DM was talking about like some incident that happened years ago where he was like completely rude to someone that was rude back to him, and he was talking about like it's like I was addicted to it. It felt so good. And given while he's saying this, the instrumental for fucking 1,000 Miles is playing in the background to the da 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 da, and I need you. And it's like I was because I'm listening to the words, and then it's like I'm listening to the music. I'm like, wait a fucking second. Is he seriously trying to act hard with 1,000 Miles playing in the background like he's Terry Crews or some shit?
Let me tell you how amazing I am. When I tell people to go get fucked, I just feel incredible about it. Now, people will say that I'm the maladjusted one, but it's not me. I enjoy being a rebel rouser. It's your problem that you don't like me. Yeah, in all seriousness, as much as I poke fun and I'll make songs and play the Vulture DM game, he's such an interesting fellow, and part of it is I believe mental illness. Part of it is just unbridled hatred for anybody that can get traction that's not him. And that's not the place for the space. You're not going to get along with everybody, but you sort of know that going into it. You don't hate anybody for it. I legitimately have extended my offer for him to come on the Speakeasy specifically, not the Big Show, because I don't want to talk games with the cat. I want to talk about what makes him tick. And that drove him off the deep end with me originally, almost, shoot. It wasn't recent. It was a long time ago. And then he dredged up some new stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll play the Condor game for a little bit. But it gets old, too, because if you've seen his video from last week, You've seen his video from last month. You've seen his video from last year, and you saw his video from 5 years ago. He's not fresh. He's a lazy content creator, and I use that term very lightly with him. He just orally masturbates to himself on his YouTube channel, and then gets mad when people take notice that that's what he's doing. But I don't have any hatred for the guy. I actually think he would be a really interesting psychopath to talk to. So,
Yeah. I mean, there's some videos that I used to watch of his. Because I think when I first came across him, it was like it wasn't as bad as he was now. But I remember like, oh, that makes sense. I agreed with some of the stuff he said. Like when he did a video when the whole shadow darkening thing started up about several months back, and I agreed with some of the stuff he said about that. Just kind of like how some people were kind of overreacting about it in a sense. Which so I thought that was a fair take. But some of his other stuff, as of recently, I'm just like, I don't really care that much about it. It's like I don't.
Ultra, what happens is for every good point he has, he invalidates it with his ridiculous "fuck you, diversity and dragons and Harmony Ginger and Ryan David and OGG." I hate women. It only goes so far. So when he does make a good point, because even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. When he makes a good point, it's overshadowed by the ridiculousn's of again. I think the cat is mentally ill, and you saw Ultra. I was producing something that I talked about a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week or a week ago, and it was specifically a Vulture DM thing. But when I sat back and looked at it, I was like, I can't release this. I don't hate the guy, and it was just downright mean. So I ended up shelving it. Only Jack and Kyle saw the very infancy stages of it. And I looked back at that thing and I said, if I hated the guy, it would be one thing, but this is just pure meanness. So I'm not going to do it. The difference is he doesn't have that trigger in his brain, right?
Yeah.
It went out the window with his teeth. So.
And then there was that time when he tried to say that I was Broasar while quote tweeting a post that was me calling out the Broasar at the time because I was having my little scuffle with them like several months back. I was having my own Broasar scuffle with some of those guys.
That's because the bro OSR is only good for certain things. And if you say anything that has bro OSR in it, that immediately means that you are sucking Jeffress. Yeah, it's such a weird dude, man. He's such a weird dude. But he's great content, right? He's fantastic for mining for content. The only thing is I'm really leery about going to the Vulture well once too often because just like I said before, if you saw his video last week, you saw his video last month, and you saw his video last year, because there ain't nothing new there. And that's the thing that kills him. His production's lazy, and there's no new innovative ideas or thoughts. It's just, man, I could not vomit and eat it, and then vomit and eat it, and vomit and eat it as often as he does. But, never yuck another guy's yums. It's working for him. He's having amazing, crazy amounts of casual sex, and he's the first one that'll tell you about it.
Yeah. It's like I told the same thing to Double D that we're probably giving him more views than he's ever had in a long time, as much shit as we talk about him these days. It's
without a doubt.
Views he ever gets on most videos.
It's like a train wreck, right? The views that he gets are generated by us. And I'm okay with that, right? Like I said, I don't hate the guy. I think he's a really interesting cat, and interesting is in quotation marks there, Ultra. So, what else? How was your Christmas, my friend?
It was good. I don't know if you saw. I shared off the 3 Andrew Kolb setting books that I got.
I did see that.
They're all 5e compatible, which to me means easy to convert to OSR. So we're probably going to take because I don't know if you saw, but I ordered on one of my posts. I mentioned I ordered the Castles of Crusades white box version over the holiday week. So I'm looking forward to getting that because I don't know what it's been lately, but there's just something about old school OSR and white box games that have just been more hitting home with me with the because the simplicity of some of the white box games are just they hit that niche for me, and I don't know what it is, but it's like White Box has been hitting everything right now for me.
Well, that's great. It's sometimes there is beauty in simplicity, right? And
Hmm.
that is the perfect example of beauty and simplicity for our hobby. Um, I got nothing more to say. That it is what it is. Sometimes you go to the basics. I look at it like the video game that you always go back to play. Right? You've played it
Hmm.
100 times. You know it forwards and backwards. But there's a reason that old school game scratches the itch, and that's because it's you know it so well, and you have the beats down,
Hmm.
and you don't poison the pond, man, with too much shit. It's just what it is what it is, and White Box is a perfect example of that. I've been fooling around with Arkham Horror, the tabletop game, with one of my groups, and we're really starting to get astride with that. And it's very much the same to an extent. There is some bloat for it,
Hmm.
but the core of that system is beautifully simple, and some would say to a flaw, but it makes it very easy to just jump in and run with. So I feel you. I feel you.
I did. I also got a couple of my own personal Christmas gifts. So I got Dragon Warriors. Bought that off a
Nice,
drive through because I'm
excellent
actually on.
system.
Me and Lord Mateus are actually going to be part of someone's of a Dragon Warriors game that's on his server starting next month because the guy was waiting for after the holidays to happen. So I got that,
Sure.
and I'm playing a warlock character, which a warlock in Dragon Wars, it's more like the sword and spell type guy.
Right.
So yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I just happened to roll the exact number on my dice that I needed to be able to play that. So I'm like, oh, good, because I didn't realize that I needed to have like a specific number. So I started reading further. It's like, oh, okay, I have to have that number, and I have that number, so I'm good to go.
That's awesome.
and
That's
and
awesome.
I also got this vigilante hack. It's the main game, and then like a little game master's guide. I think it's got a little setting in it too. That's by Bloat Games. It's basically a black. It's a their version of Black Hack with vigilante justice kind of happening in it. And so that I'm just like, it's a small book, and they're decently cheap. So I figured why not? Because I've been trying to look into like do some more like superhero and type stuff as well. So that's something I got as well.
Right.
And I've just got more books on the way because I keep kickstarting and buying them. So
I know, man. Books are our addiction, but hey, that's better than some alternatives, man. Well, I am going to take off here. I am still putting the finishing touches on the new studio, which, God willing, will be ready for the speakeasy tomorrow. We're putting the soundproofing, or the last of the soundproofing, up tonight, and doing lighting probably till the wee hours of the morning because I'm crazy like that, and I have to do that.
oh, we know, Ryan. We know.
But I want to say to everybody, make sure that you are following Ultra right here on Rumble, and that's the only place we're streaming. Are you streaming to X too, buddy, or
Uh,
just Rumble tonight?
I stream on Rumble mostly. I don't think I have the high enough premium to be able to live stream on X, just
Gotcha.
because I pay like the 11 month and that's it. And then I saw that I may be able to start live streaming on YouTube as well. I think they may do that. I don't know. I didn't want to take the time because I was just tired after the day. But I usually will re-upload the live streams to YouTube after the couple days afterwards. So I just do it on here for the most part. So
Well, that's super cool. I'm going to plug the speakeasy, if you don't mind, for everybody tomorrow.
of course,
Join
go ahead.
Ultra and everybody else, 5 o'clock Eastern, at the Nerd Cognito channel. You can follow that either on X at Nerd Cognito or right here on Rumble for the biggest gathering of our corner of the hobby on Saturday afternoons, 5 o'clock Eastern. And, of course, follow the big show, Nerd Cognito, on every major podcast provider. God, I'm going to be tired of saying that someday, but today is not the day. It's arguably the largest audio-only podcast for our corner of the hobby. Hey, buddy, I will see you tomorrow in the speakeasy. I'm going to go sniff some more glue and get this soundproofing taken care of for the evening. So enjoy the rest of your stream, my friend.
All right, I will see you tomorrow, Ryan.
Sounds good, buddy. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, there we go. Okay. I didn't know if I needed to kick him or if he was going to get lost or something. So, yeah. So, actually, it's actually funny that Ryan comes on because part of me looking back is me thinking about like how I've kind of got to where I am now, part of the deal. So, as I mentioned earlier, City and Mist was where I got my start with the ttrpg hobby. I don't know if you're there still. I don't know if you're still there, Lord Mattias. So, if sorry if I bored you there for a little bit, but I'm glad if you're still there. I'm glad you're part of it. You've always been a cool dude, and I love it when you're joining the streams all the time. When I get to see you pop in and say hi. So yeah. So City of Mist gets me into the hobby. My start into the hobby. I'm part of servers. Roe v. Wade happens, causing the uproar in many of these servers. I try to speak out, being like, "Hey, let's focus on games, not on this here." Oh, and speak of the devil, I will allow you in here. I think you have to. Let me see. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. Uh oh. Hold on. Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Nope, that doesn't work.
Can
Oh, are you there?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now. So
I have no idea what
I'm sorry. You spaced out there for a second.
I have no idea what I was doing.
Do we ever at this point in day and age?
I wanted to jump on real quick, just because I actually have a little bit of free time, and it's hard for me to get to streams. But I wanted to say I'm looking forward to our game, man.
I know.
Legacy's a good dude. He's our game master, and
Hmm.
he's what I'm really happy that he joined my Discord, and I've gotten to know him over the years because he is into just some of the most obscure stuff, and he knows a lot. So I learn about new games by gaming with him. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, I think I found out about Dragon Warriors. I think just doing one of my usual drive-through RPG scours one day, and it just happened to pop up on like it was under the pay what you want thing, and I'm just like, oh, let me check it out, and I'm like, oh, it's British, and it got my interest, so I got the PDF, and then it's like it was just one of those things where I had it, but I never really thought to look into it until I saw Legacy was being like, hey, I want to do a Dragon Warriors game. It's like, oh, I've been waiting to play that. I will join.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, a couple years back, I think we were on like the Basic Expert server or something. I don't know where it came up, but he mentioned playing Song of Ice and Fire, and I've owned that for a few years now, but could never find anybody interested in playing it. So I was like, heck yeah, man. So it was just me and two other guys, and one of the guys, because of his work schedule, he was not always consistently there. But we did everything. We built our house. We figured out who our initial alliances were, and then he let us make two characters. One character would be like the noble class level, like the ones that are involved in the political intrigue, and then we'd have our like knightly squires that would go off and cause trouble. And man, that was a fun campaign. We played it for almost a year, once every 3 to 4 weeks, and that was just nonstop problems because our house was poor, and we were beset by like bandits. And I'm trying to ally with house. Was it Tully? I can't remember what house it was from Game of
Mm.
Thrones, and it was like we had to marry someone off. It was insane, but it was a lot of fun, and I would never have gotten to play if it wasn't for Legacy. So, um, yeah, I'm glad he decided to get more involved in my server. So, needs more games, and that's always a good thing.
Definitely. It's actually funny because on my when I was driving home from work earlier today, there's a guy on YouTube. I can't remember the full thing, but it's like Dave RPG is his name, and he talks about all sorts of different TTRPGs and stuff. Just little like maybe like 20-minute or less videos most times, depending on the system. And he released one today, talking about like the 52, 53 reasons you should try anything. You should try a new game besides Dungeons and Dragons. And he's going over basically like all the stuff that's happened with like WotC and Hasbro. He's talking about like just how like tiring some of D&D has become for a lot of people in regards to like how its combat works, how some of the mechanics are, and how they've all the changes they made. And then he goes on sharing all the other games. He mentioned Alien. He mentioned Brilliant Ruin. A whole like list of just different games that he's talked about this year alone. That he said, if you're like wanting to do this, try this kind of deal. And that's kind of one of the things that I've been wanting to do because I was on a podcast and he was asking about like what the guy was asking like what my go-to system was. And I'm like, I can't say that because I use different games for different things. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to do a post-apocalyptic setting with Dragon Warriors. I would get, it's up in my cabinet here, but I have Atomic Punk 2160, I think. Is that the
Something like
first one?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Something
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
I have that. It's like if I want to do like a modern day with superpowers, City of Mist. Or my go-to now for like my kind of low fantasy, high fantasy, Shadow Dark. I've been running the Gonzo Fantasy Chult setting with this for like a couple months now with some players, and I've been having a blast with that because we get to all sorts of fucking crazy shenanigans.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I actually been wanting to ask you about your experience with Shadow Dark because I've run it a couple of times. Nothing like consistent. I like it, but I just haven't had that experience of like running it consistently, doing like something that was intended to be kind of long term. And when you go on Twitter or some other like Discord servers or whatever, it's really polarized, like how people feel
Mm.
about Shadow Dark. And I get a sense from you that, you're kind of reasonable and you're willing to like give an honest, and sincere, thoughtful opinion on these things. So like how do you feel about Shadow Dark? Is it a good game? Does it have its problems? Like what are your thoughts?
So as like it's like I've like again I've only been playing this for like a few months and like I basically have been learning this too as I've been playing it because when I started running this Chult game I'm like this I wanted to do something because I wasn't a big fan of like how some of the mechanics in like Advanced Scripts and Dragon Slayer worked, so I didn't felt like it was right for what I was wanting to go for. So, but I thought, Shadow Dark, it's OSR. It should work well. I can adjust some
Sure.
things if I need to. It's got all the monsters in here you need. I love the tables in this especially because all the different treasure tables for your different levels, and I love the you can basically roll to make up like a magic item. If you're say, oh, you found a magic item, do all these rolls to see what kind of magic item you find. And I just
Right.
have we'll all like split the rolls up between everyone, and we all basically create this magic item, which we've done that a few times, and that was really cool. And I do like that. See, the thing I have about TTRPGs is I like to present a challenge, but I don't want it to be like a TPK kind of challenge. I want them to be able. I like my players to have a fighting chance, and I think Shadow Dark does that fairly decently well. It provides like it gives you the you can die encounter, but can still get a way out if you play your cards right kind of deal. So, and like you said, I'm kind of like what you said about Shadow Dark. I'm the same way with Powered by the Apocalypse games. I love those games because that's what got me started with the hobby. But I know a lot of people don't like those games, and I completely understand that. It's basically an acquired taste of Powered by the Apocalypse games for the most part. But I
Sure.
love them because I love the narrative aspect. That's how I got my start is the narrative aspect, and I just decided to look into more games because I want to see what else is out there, and that's why I'm now in this point where I'm like the white box stuff has now been really hitting it for me. Like the simplicity of white box gaming is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny, like you're talking about City of Mist is like your first game, which is
Mhm.
awesome. I always thought you came from fifth edition, to be completely honest with you. Um,
Everyone thinks that, and everyone is surprised when I tell them that I did not play. I've only played in one fifth edition campaign. It was ran by a buddy of mine. You may see him around. He goes by Magic Man on X,
oh
and
yeah, yep.
he's started the whole the make chainmail bikini great again movement. That's his whole shtick. But he's a
Well,
great dude.
God bless
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, he loves the kind of the pulp fantasy stuff, and what he did was he took the horror on the Orient Express module from Call of Cthulhu and just gave it the D&D flavor is what he did. And for what it was actually not bad. It was actually pretty fun. He kept the challenge, kept the horror, at least as much of the horror as you can do, because we all know horror is kind of a hit or miss in D&D depending on what you're trying to do. So, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was a good game. I played she was a drow gunslinger that I made Dex the dump stat for without realizing that I needed Dex to shoot a gun.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is like I started off in the 80s with the red box, the classic Mensker box set there, D&D Basic, Beck Me. And that still has a place in my heart. And because I've gone back to it because like second edition rolled around. I never really played a lot of first edition. And then third edition came around and we jumped on board, but after a while, I at least started realizing something was kind of missing. And it's great that you're getting into white box that like Ryan was saying the beauty of simplicity. Well, that beauty is allows you, the game master, and the players to do a lot where they're just like, it's not a matter of can I do this? It's I'm gonna do this. And then you, the game master, go, all right, well, make this roll. Right. You figure it out as you're going and it creates some great moments. So one of my go-tos for classic, D&D fantasy is the Rules Cyclopedia, which is sort of like the compendium of Beckme. So
Hmm.
I like that one a lot. But going to horror, my absolute favorite retro clone is Lamentations of the Flame Princess. You want gritty, dark fantasy? That's the one you want.
I have been meaning to get into that for some time, ever since I got the free no art PDF. That's what I've been meaning to get into, and I was trying to get into that Father's Day thing, and I don't know, and like timing just did not work. And so I've been meaning to get into a Lamentations game for a while now, just to try and see how it is myself. Because again, I hear all the things about it from you guys, and one of my favorite authors, ttrpg authors, James Spahn, who made the White Box Space Opera game,
Hmm.
is about to start to do a Kickstarter for the White Box Cyclopedia,
Oh
which
wow.
is all white box stuff that like the original white box stuff, and then all the white box stuff that he's done. Like it's all going to be fancy, so you won't see like White Star in there, but it's all like the original white box like rule set, and then like all his white box stuff that he's done over the years as well. So it's going to be a big like cyclopedia type tone too, which I'm getting that.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I wonder. I don't know a lot about like the white box stuff because that's all based off original D&D. Um, I'm wondering if he's going to have any like chainmail or any of that in there. That'd be interesting to find out. But
I can
um,
imagine there would be some chainmail vibes in there, probably like mass combat kind of stuff. I can see that being in there, and like I know, like it's like it's typical with like some of these newer games now that try to recreate the old style. They offer like THAC0 and Ascending Armor class now too, so I'm sure that will be in there as well. And like the Castles and Crusades white box that I ordered over this week, I think because I was reading through it, and I think they do Ascending Armor class in that book
oh okay.
over. So, I mean, because that's just what everyone knows now these days. No one really wants Stecco the Clown anymore. Ah, hey, my ear trumpet, it's good to see you. And yeah, that's the guy, Dave Thalvamore's RPG reviews. That's the guy whose video I was talking about earlier.
Oh
Thank you
okay.
for. Yeah, he does a lot of just a whole bunch of different art TTRPG videos, just talking about different games and different topics and such. So, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, you're good. You're good. I actually lost my train of thought. But are you going to continue with your Chalt/Shadow Dark game? Is that still
Uh,
going?
I think we're going to last for a couple more sessions. It's like I think after we're in a supermax space prison is where all the characters are at right now. So going to try. They're going to try to end up breaking out of that, and I think we may stop that one. I don't know about permanently, but we may just try something else because one of the things that I've been mostly wanting to kind of focus on is I want to do kind of like modern contemporary fantasy. So kind of like similar to like how the movie Bright was, where it's like
Hmm.
you have modern day, but with all the fantasy race and stuff. But I want contemporary, which is 90s and early 2000s. I love. There's something about that time frame that just is just right for me. The 90s and early 2000s.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I've actually with like the quote unquote modern. genre, broadly speaking. I've actually been like looking at early 1900s, like 1920s, 1930s, that pulp era. So like
Mhm.
I'm in a game a buddy of mine's running for my channel called The Row, and it's a supers game using like a
Oh
retro
yeah.
clone of the Marvel TSR game. Yeah. And that's like right in the 1920s. I'm having a blast. And the Red Room has their game, Wretched Interbellum, that I bought that book on a whim. And man, it's a damn shame they got kicked off a drive through RPG because
Mhm.
their setting material, even if you don't like their system, their setting material is so useful and deep and it's just it's perfect for like 1920s 1930s. So that's where I've been kind of like looking at right now. Like I'd love to do something just pulp, like Indiana Jones, right? You're on
Mhm.
an adventure, the bad guys from WW2 are chasing you, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. It's like I don't I've made it obvious like my own little gripes with the wretched kind of system because I feel like especially with how much content they put into it. While I understand it, I feel like it bloats it a little bit. But I mean, their settings alone, it's easy to take those and use with other systems. Like I because I'm such a big World War II fan myself, that was one of my my favorite history subjects to learn in school. I got the Wretched Armageddon, and I'm going to run that with the Operation White Box role
Oh,
playing game,
nice.
which is World War II
Yeah, no, I know that
game
one. Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then I also got one thing. I got the Demons of Chernobyl. I got that one, and I was reading through that one a while back, and that was really cool. And I'm like, ooh, I could use. It's like a Scrying Dutchman made a Shadow Dark supplement called Blacklight, which is basically kind of like if you're like those main like those like the SWAT team guys from the SCP Foundation. You're playing as those kind of guys, and like take those guys, send them back in time to Chernobyl to try to stop it or something like that. I figured that was be like a little fun little scenario to run. And then I've been wanting to do something with Weird West for so long. And I was trying to do that with Wretched Country, but the group I tried to do it with, we ended up all like we didn't fall out. It's just like we all just kind of ended up doing other things, so it never really continued. But I loved the feel of Wretched Country and how I was able to kind of touch Weird West with it a little bit. So that's something I've always wanted to do as
Yeah.
well.
Not to shill my own stuff, but I actually
Go
wrote
ahead, chill all you want.
I actually wrote a supplement for Wretched Country called Wretched Folklore.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's right.
I'm actually I'm trying to update it to their second edition of the game, but that's still available on like physical copies at Lulu and of course Giant Slayer Games and the Red Room. But yeah, like I read Wretched Country, I was like, number one, this totally captures the American Western drama. Like it feels gritty, but I felt like it didn't go far enough on the weird part of it. So that's why I like did Wretched Folklore. So I did all this research into Native American monsters. I did some stuff on. I created like a psionic class called the Spiritualist. There's some extra rules for like trying to survive the prairie, and this was what was really interesting in my research. In the 1800s, when we started expanding west, in the writings from that era, everything from personal letters to journals and diaries, even to like some newspaper articles, people would focus on the sound and the silence of the prairie. And it was couched in terms of like this really depressive, like awful experience. And people would suffer from prairie madness. They'd lose their shit out in the wild, right? Um, w- what was interesting is once the West started getting, I guess, civilized and modernized with like bigger cities, electricity, cars, and stuff. All that stuff all of a sudden disappeared. A few years back, some scientists from some like MIT or something were hypothesizing that because of the lack of sound in the West
Mm,
at that time, focused our brains on like whatever sound happened and would augment it. So like the sound of a chicken would drive you crazy because there was no
mm.
other sounds. And then once the big city started moving in, there was more sound. I thought that was like really interesting. So I tried to turn it into rules for like going crazy out in the wild. But
I love how your campaign idea is make everyone go crazy out in the wilds, whereas my campaign idea is I want to recreate a Weird West Blazing Saddles. That was my whole campaign idea for Wretched Country because that movie, it's French Kiss. That Blazing Saddles
oh,
is a great
absolutely,
masterpiece of a movie.
absolutely.
Oh, Gene Wilder, he was just so amazing, and I forget who the African American actor was in that movie.
Oh,
It was
oh,
George something, I think.
oh God, I gotta look it up now because it's gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah, I had the movie, but it's all the way over there, so I can't get to it right now. Yeah, but that was a one thing because I was it was basically the good deal because it's Blazing Saddles movie, and I think my title of the game I called it Flaming Desperados.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cleavon Little was the actor's name.
Cleavon Little. I thought there was like a George something.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I don't think he was in too many things there. He was in the Rockford Files, Simon and Simon. Apparently, he was in Once Bitten. That was one of Jim Carrey's first movies.
mm,
But anyway, yeah. Well, anyway, what that's what's so wonderful about the Red Room stuff is like there's a
mhm,
lot you can do with it. It's a damn shame they don't get more attention, I guess, because like yeah,
yeah.
they're just good setting books. Even if you don't like the system, I think they're just good setting books.
Yeah, they had a rough couple months, which the if you all watched the Deck of Many Triggers music video, I forgot to completely talk about them before this started. The Deck of Many Triggers music video was made by the Red Room, and I know their website is posted in the link below. And you can also get or pre-order the Deck of Many Triggers off the Giant Slayer website, and that link is also below in the video description as well. So I still need to order it. I keep reminding myself to order it, and I still have not done that yet because I keep like there's always something else I gotta buy or something else I have to pay for, and I'm just like I gotta get it before because if I don't get it now, I'm never gonna get it. So
Yeah, well, sadly, we did not meet our goal by the time frame. So we realized though that we had enough money raised that we can like fulfill the orders that we have. So we're moving forward with it, and we decided that we're going
mm,
to keep it open and just let it go until it hits 100%. Then we're just going to that's when we'll shut it down.
mm.
So and I think we're at like 90-91% fulfilled. So
Yeah, it's it's
there,
it's 91%. Yeah, I did see that last time. So it's like, yeah, sometimes it's hit and miss with how they work. Sometimes.
yeah. Well, I appreciate Giant Slayer Games trying to doing it. It's their first time doing a crowdfunding campaign, and they're a small company, and I hope everyone who listens to your channel gives them a chance because we really do need competition in this space.
Mhm.
Drive through RPG is a virtual monopoly, so
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for like how crazy Lulu can be on the pricing sometimes, and the fact that not everyone else offers like POD, I would be going elsewhere for my books besides Drive Through RPG. But as it stands right now, everyone uses Drive Through RPG, and as much as I don't like because like what they did to Red Room and what they're possibly going to do to Venger, because I know Venger's saying he's been having issues with them now as well recently.
there's a couple other people, big guys out there that I mean, I've heard about it through back channels, so I don't want to do name dropping,
Mhm.
but there are others, and I'm sure you can figure out who. But basically, the standard people that the blue hairs don't like, to put it
Which
bluntly.
which is like almost no one at this point because the blue hairs even eat their own sometimes. So it's like, who
Yeah,
do they actually like?
that's a good point, brother. That's a good point.
Freaking Well, I think I do know one person that probably falls in that category, and he's one that the left has eaten against their own multiple times. And I'm not going to mention him because I absolutely do not like the guy. I disagree with him on almost everything. And people are just like, "Oh no, he makes good games." It's hard for me to look at the games when all that comes out of the person's mouth is shit. You probably can figure out who I'm talking about. I don't want to drop his name though, because
Yeah,
it's like if I mention the name, it's gonna be like Bloody Mary. He's gonna suddenly appear, probably.
yeah. No, I hear you. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, no, it's weird, man, and it's something that has bothered me in this industry since I first got on. Started like getting involved, similar to you, during pandemic. I was bored, so I was like, I think I'm going to try to write an RPG. Um, And I was shocked at how toxic the community, or not community, the industry can be. I'm shocked at how, like, I don't have any problem with competitiveness, right? I have no problem
Hmm.
with, pushing each other and, like, and obviously you don't have to be friends with everybody. But sometimes I'm just sometimes shocked at, like, the how quickly the knives come out sometimes. It's like, dude, we're just playing elf games. And, like, can we just let it alone, But yeah, but this is where we are. And I think it's great that you've been doing what you've been doing this past year. Um and I'm really glad you're on my Discord. You know what I mean? And I'm looking forward to gaming with you this year.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
so, um, so yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to come in and say I appreciate you, man.
And I appreciate you too. You've been one of my big supporters ever since I started to get back on X because because the only reason I go by the Ultra American TTRPG was because when people started attacking me because of my beliefs and values, and I'm one of those guys where it's like, oh, if you hate me because of this, I'm just gonna double down on it then. So that's
Yeah.
why I go by the Ultra American because I love my TTRPGs and I will run and play them with anyone, but I love my country. I don't like the government. Let me stipulate that for a second. We have some issues with our government, but you can still love your country and hate your own government at the same time. And I think
Amen.
it's like Cat Williams says, "We may not be the greatest country in the world, but we're the greatest country in the world."
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what more you do. But with that said, I actually got to go too. I just want to stop in and say hello. And real quick for your listeners, I do have a YouTube channel and I'm on Rumble, though my Rumble, like you, I've been neglecting Rumble, but I've been neglecting it a lot longer than you. So check out Gaming with Lord Mattias, and on YouTube it's just Lord Mattias. I also have a blog. What's it called? What is my blog called? Wondrous. Oh, Lord Mattias's Ancient Tomes and Wondrous Items. I just talk about games, and that's pretty much all I do. And I try to run games, and everyone's welcome. You just got to be cool.
Oh, I saw my ear trumpet decided to comment on one of my posts. Sorry, I have to hotspot my phone for me to use my internet, and so I'm checking my phone notifications all that at the same time I'm listening. So gotta multitask sometimes. So,
No,
but
I hear you. Hey, well, hey, man, you have a good rest of your night. It was good talking to you.
yeah, you too. I'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Yep. So kind of that's Lord Mateus, and like you said, find him on the X Machine, find him on Rumble, YouTube, and just listen to what he's got to say. It's some good stuff. And so, but like I was saying, back to my original point now, going on the losing my words. Looking back into the past of how I got my humble beginnings as the Ultra Mega Teacher RPGer. Again, people just didn't like my views. They'd slandered me for them, so I doubled down and became the Ultra Mega TTRPGer. And no sounds of the Wild West. That's not the case in Australia. Australian wildlife will kill you, my ear trumpet. That's usually what happens. You don't. It's like as soon as if you hear it, you're probably already dead by that point. So, as much as I hear about the craziness of animals in Australia, and so yeah, and so I started being like I started being active on X because Musk. I wasn't on X at that point, but then Musk bought it, and I felt more comfortable being on that platform after Musk bought it. So I started speaking out, and then, excuse me, and then, of course, people were still slandering me. I was still kind of doing my own thing. But what really kind of set it off was when a game I had backed. Uh, I had backed it. I had backed it for a while, paid the pledge and everything on Kickstarter, and I actually was following the creator of this game I backed for a while. And eventually, I saw that this creator of the game I backed blocked me, and I didn't know why. It didn't make any sense to me. And then I was also part of this creator's Discord server for the game. I log on to Discord one day, and I see that I can't access the server now. And when I tried to get re-access to it, it shows that it does if you try to hit a link and it tells you that like it's expired or something, that's just another way of them saying you've been banned from the server. And so I'm trying to now message these people, trying to figure out what the heck is going on and why I was banned. did think too much. It is basically a niche novelty because it was basically, but it was made. All the cards were like submitted from people like Venger, Red Room, Diversity and Dragons. I think Pundit did a submission on it. So, yeah, I mean, they got enough though, thankfully, and they're still like take. You could still like order a card of deck or so because they're still like accepting it until they get 100. So I'm sure if you do order one now, you'll still be able to get a deck. But I mean, the majority of the people that were in the deck are that helped make this deck are people that I support personally, and like I've gotten games from all sorts of different people, and so that's why I push it, and that's why I try to push it to help them out. And I'm part of the Giant Slayer Games Discord, and I interact with those guys as well. So, and where was I now? Yeah, so I'm trying to reach out to these people, the creator of of this game that I backed. No one's answering me. I can't figure this out. I start posting about it on X. And Kyle from Nerdcognito, Kyle, who is one of the other actually now one of the main four now because it's Ryan, Kyle, Jack, and Bert. And Bert is the cryptid friend of theirs that only appears on the main show. He doesn't come on the speakeasy. Kyle, Ryan, and Jack will do the speakeasy, and Bert will usually only appear for the main show that they do. But Kyle, who you can follow him by at Dying Breed on X, he mentioned that if they're not going to respond to you and they did this to you, you should just get your money back. And so my last message I said to them, I reached out and I said, hey, if I can't interact with you guys in any capacity, then just give me back my money. And then I won't bother y'all anymore, basically. I won't message y'all anymore from that point. And so they refunded my money, which I then used to purchase other better games. And then they, on their X profile, try to make it. They didn't mention me by name, but the post they did type out was about me reaching out to them, and they tried to use the excuse that they were at the PAX Unplugged event, which I don't think is a good excuse because because my thing is if you are a creator, you do a Kickstarter, and you have people that back you by like thousands of dollars, you owe them. You owe the people that help back your game to make it possible. So, like, if I was to back a game and then you reach out, if I create a game that you backed and then you reached out to me trying to ask me like questions or whatever, I think I owe it to you. I would say I owe it to you all as backers of my hypothetical game that I created. I would owe it to respond back to you and answer your questions, regardless of, well, unless I'm asleep, of course. But if I was awake or even at an event, I would still take the time out to record because, I mean, you can send emails from your bloody cell phones now. It shouldn't be that hard to send messages to and from, I think. And that ended up getting traction, and I eventually Ryan of Nerdcognito asked me if I wanted to come on and share my side of the story. And of course I said yes, because I want to be able to let people know what's going on. They also invited Honda Table themselves to come on to the show and talk. And Honda Table's response to them asking them was to block them. So yeah, it's crazy. So basically everyone only got to heard my side of the story. So I don't know what Honda Table has said. They probably, for what the Honda Table said on their X post, it was all the lies and slander stuff that people have been posting about me on X, just about my wrong thing, basically. And that's kind of where it all shot off from there. Was after that interview that I did with Nerdcognito sharing my side of the story, I just started doing my own things. I still do I podcast on the side still. I don't share those as much because I try to keep my podcast separate from my own, like when I go off my crazy political rants and stuff that I've done before. So I try not to tie those in too much to it, but I do share them from time to time because it's just something I've always liked to do. And so and I just think about like listening to the old podcast episodes that were still out with the people of where I was talking to people who I no longer talk to because they basically wrote me off after everything. And I just think about there were people that I once supported and then greatly appreciated and then greatly admired that I thought did great stuff, and all because of some difference of opinions, I'm now the bad guy in their eyes. And it's also kind of funny. Like I think it's just coincidental that this happens, But I noticed that a lot of shows that I was friends with the people on, as soon as they did that to me, their shows ended up falling off. As in, they either just ended or they just stopped making them. So I think it's just coincidence, but I still think it's funny that that happens right after they decide to do that to me. Because again, I don't want them to not succeed if they're doing the right show, if they're doing the show for the right reason. I just don't want shows to be I don't want these TTRPG shows I used to love be politically motivated. I have been so picky on so many of my podcasts now these days because of all the politics and stuff that gets forced into into the gaming hobby now. Like I remember dropping one server in their show because they started doing all Trump derangement syndrome after he won the election. That all started happening. I'm like, yeah, I'm not dealing with that. I will let them be. And so I just quietly removed myself from them. I stopped listening to them. And then there's other ones that's like one person from the podcast may share their own like opinion on their page, but they don't bring on the show. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. People are entitled to their opinions, like I am to mine, and we don't have to agree on everything. I just don't want to hear it in the shows. That's my biggest thing. It's like we see it in like now, even it's gotten worse now. We see it, we see it clear as day in books, clear as day in games, and clear as day in movies, and it's just gone out of hand. Like Evil Hat at one point was not this bad as it is now. Even if you consider Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which I do own PDFs of, I did not buy them. I got community copies for them off of Itch.io because they do allow they did have a lot of community copies out. I've only backed one game of theirs, and that was their Girl by Moonlight, which is a magical girl, Fortune in the Dark game because I was talking with a former friend at the time. We were talking about like magical girl stuff, and I'm like, oh, that would be kind of fun to do. I've never done like a magical girl TTRPG before, and I backed that game, and I get it only to find out it's full of like this DEI woke garbage, like the pronouns and all that, and I'm just like, why do I have this now? And that just sits in a little cabinet I have now. I've never played it or touched it. But Evil Hat has just gone like so off the rails. Like even Thirsty Sword Lesbians, even though there was like little bits of it here and there, it wasn't that bad. I could read through Thirsty Sword Lesbians, and I could pull stuff from it. I would run a game of Thirsty Sword Lesbians if I ever felt like if the table ever felt like playing that. Just because from a narrative perspective, I like the story of some of the stuff it gives. That's basically it. I don't care about like I could give a shit less about who you fuck and how you identify. As long as you can sit down and be a decent person at my table, live your life how you want, basically. As long as you don't live like a communist, then. But that's the only stipulation there. And so, yeah, it has been a wild 2024 for sure, for me for the most part. I wasn't originally thinking about doing the live streaming thing originally, but I'm just like, I have topics I want to talk about that can take up so much more than a simple X post. Oh, hey, I can type in here. I didn't realize that. That's good to know. And that's why I started doing live streaming through Rumble. I was going to do it through, I think it was like freaking, not Restream. It was the other one that people, StreamYard. I was going to do StreamYard originally, but it wouldn't let you do Rumble unless you paid for them, and I didn't want to pay. And YouTube was having their own issues at the time with the people and all that. Because one of the things, like I refuse to outright use Twitch now because of how they've treated. Like I know some people don't like VTubers. I have no issues with many of them. I call out VTubers when they need to feel called out. Other than that, I do enjoy my degenerate VTuber content. And so when I was completely against Twitch when they did the whole like the artistic nudity thing, and everyone just started getting naked on stream. And then they would ban the VTubers, but not the OnlyFans models. And then the whole entire even the popular VTubers on Twitch, how they were trying to remove them. And so I outright refuse to use Twitch for any reason or in any capacity now. That's not something I do. And then it's like but then like I said, I may start doing multi-streaming on here and YouTube now because I saw that I think I could probably connect this to YouTube now. I just didn't do it at the time because I'm like, I was tired and I just I'll do that next year probably. I'll start doing that next year, which is not too far off. We only got like 3 or 4 days left before it's now 2025. And so, yeah, it's been a crazy and interesting year for sure for me. Last couple years alone. But I think, like I said on Diversity and Dragon stream the other night, 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for us. I think we're going to see a lot of things change, a lot of things go, and I think in the long run, it's going to be better. I think 2025 will be a lot better year than we've seen in the last couple years, at least. I'm not going to. I'm not going to hold my breath that everything's going to be perfect because Lord knows that's never always the case. Something's always going to come in and screw everything up. But hey, I got my games, I got my dice, and as a proud member, proud American member of this ttrpg hobby, what more can I ask for at this point? I'm part of a great community. I've made plenty of new and good friends, better friends, honestly, in some instances. Like, I don't agree with everyone, everything. Like, hell, like me, right? Like you heard Ryan say earlier, we and him don't agree on everything. Like people like I don't agree with Avenger on everything. I don't agree with Pundit on everything. I don't agree with Red Room on everything. Like we all have our differences, but at the same time, we band together because we love this hobby. It's like it's like especially because I don't know what I would have done with myself during the whole pandemic if I did not once again City of Mist. This was my introduction to the hobby. And yeah, I know not many people like Power Bay Apocalypse. I understand that. Everyone has their own tastes. But if it wasn't for this game, I wouldn't be doing Shadow Dark. I wouldn't be doing Dragon Warriors. This was my gateway. City of Mist was my gateway to this hobby because I saw what I could do with just one game, and the thought came into my head: how much more could I do with 100 others? Basically, I have games up in this cabinet. I have a cap. Not you can't. I'm pointing over towards the direction that I have a container that slides under my dining counter holds games. I have another little bucket over here that holds games. Mostly, I think most of my retro games are in that one because I don't touch those that often, but I keep them nearby just in case. Actually, I think, yeah, I have 3 shelves up here, all full of books, and I keep buying more books, and I can't find room to put them in. Yeah, yeah, I understand that. My ear trumpet. It's the only reason I bring it up is because it does tie into a lot of what I was. The only reason I bring it up in this regard is because of how much it ties into everything with what I do now. So I mean, I'm literally called the Ultra American TTRPG RPGer for a reason, and it's because of that. Like you may hear me talk about politics. I'll talk about politics on my Twitter and all that. But when I'm like actually like running a game, you'll never hear me talk about Trump. You'll never hear me talk about Biden. You won't hear anything like that. You'll just hear me as a game master being like, okay, what you get on your roll? How much do you hit for? That kind of shit. And so I also just think like you can't just, not everyone can just, because I remember talking about this with some other guys. Like, it's like, you can't be just blissfully ignorant of everything. You have to pay attention to what's going on. And like I'm not a video gamer, but I keep up with all the video gaming stuff that happens out here. So that's like I follow all that stuff, and it's just crazy like what they're doing with video games. Like there's 3 games that I play now on my Xbox 360 that I have: Skyrim, BioShock Infinite, Call of Duty World at War. Those 3 games are like the only 3 I play. Excuse me, now these days. And I was like, I love Skyrim because it's the fantasy. BioShock Infinite, I've just always been a fan of BioShock, and Infinite just was so fun to play. And then World at War was because it's World War II, and I get to go shooting down the Japanese and the Nazis during World War II in that game. So I've always loved that one for Call of Duty. And so, yeah, that's basically. I don't know how much more I have left to talk about. I figured that me offering people to come live on stream may get a bigger crowd, but I mean, everyone's probably worn out from the holiday week that they've had since Christmas was right in the middle of the week of all times a year. Christmas was right in the middle of the week. And so everyone's probably either still with family or they're all just relaxing after being with family. And I don't blame them at all. I know I was worn out from being with my family, but I love every minute of it especially because this year it's bittersweet because last Christmas week, the Christmas weekend last year, we lost my grandmother on my mom's side. And so it was bittersweet, but we were all together as a family. And I mentioned this on Conservative Wiccan's Rumble channel on one of her videos, and I believe her link is posted in the description below as well, just showing her some love. Because like me and her, like we're completely different faiths, but we have great conversations together. But I remember I think, yeah, it was the Thanksgiving after Thanksgiving episode video I was on with her. And I just remembered like, just hold your family close, tell them you love them, because if as long as you got family, you got all you need for the most part. Because I know I wouldn't be able to do half of what I do if it wasn't for my family supporting me every step of the way as well. Well, this is just me taking a look back at where I've been and where I am now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call the night here. So thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Lomatius, for joining on. That's too noisy with constant TTS interruptions. Yeah, I can see that. Like I said earlier, I don't use Twitch anymore, my ear trumpet. I feel like I'm getting these late, so I don't know. Like I think my internet's just being slow on me. So if I'm getting these later than you type them in, I apologize. So, but yeah, so thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Mattias, and thank you, my ear trumpet, for hopping on and just being a commenter. I appreciate that. And to the other people that were on here just lurking and watching, I appreciate you for all coming here as well. I'm not a big channel. I don't get many views, but I just like what I do. I don't do this to I'm not doing this for a paycheck. I'm not doing this for views. I'm doing this because I care about this hobby and I care about just these games in general. Like, I want these games to be just games. I don't want to be realistic. I don't want to be political. I want my orcs and my elves and my dwarves. And what more can someone ask for? So once again, this is the Ultra American ttrpger, and I hope that you all have a happy new year and a blessing, and that you all may be blessed this upcoming 2025.